Hey everybody, this is William Smith, back for the tanning series with Kentucky Traditional Leather and Forge. And what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is hide preservation and storage so that you can tan your hides when you want or when you need. During this time of year, we gather approximately 200 hides. So we utilize a salting method, but I'm going to go over a couple of the different standard methods here and the methods that I don't use, and tell you why I use, the salting method, for myself personally and with what we do. First thing I'm going to do is let you guys know, with the salt that we choose, for it, we utilize, a fine mix feed salt that is non-iodized. You can also utilize any kosher salt that is also non-iodized. Salt's pretty cheap. When we buy it like this, it's about a 40-50 pound bag that's only $5-6. You can pay up to $1 at the grocery store, for 1 pound each. I would recommend getting as much salt as possible because with salt being cheap and preserving your hides, we can only collect hides once a year, during the hunting season. So let's get started, and the first thing that I'm going to show you guys is how to basically lay your hide out, trim anything off that you don't want, for the process, and we're going to roll it up in order to freeze it. Okay, taking one hide, laying it out on a board or a tarp so that you don't get anything extra on your hide. It's always a great time to trim your hide of any fat or anything that's pretty thick, mostly around the deer tail or up around the neck area, for it. You don't have to trim off too much, but the fat that comes from these areas is great for rendering later on. Okay, for rolling up your hide for freezing, it's very simple. Just kind of fold in your sides so that you get a good roll, because storage space is pretty important inside of a freezer. Got your hide. Get you a good plastic bag. Put the hide in the bag. Make sure all the air is out. And you can roll it up tight, you can tie it off, or you can set down and tape it. This is all you need to do in order for storing it inside of a freezer. Okay, next part on salting a hide. What you want to do, once again, roll your hide out. When you're salting a hide, you want to make sure every area gets exposed. Hair side down, flesh side up. What you do want to worry about is these small little areas here on the edges and the flanks, or the real thin areas, because they have a tendency to roll up on you. Take you a couple handfuls or a couple pounds worth of salt. Put it right in the center. Just spread it out to the edges. Make sure you get every single part of the hide. When I was talking about those edges, you want to make sure you get those too. This is why I'm saying salt is cheap. Make sure you rub it into every area. Just a little bit more. Better to use more salt than not enough. Just go back, make sure you got every area. Okay, now that the hide's salted, we've got two ways we can set down and store it. What's going to happen is the salt's going to pull the moisture out of the hide, which helps with the preservation process. At this time, if you've got inside of a garage or somewhere where animals can't get to it, you can put a brick under the end and basically create a downwards flow for the moisture to drain off. Once it drains off, you're going to have all this moisture come off, salt be on the edges. You do not want to use that old salt. That salt has been exposed to bacteria and things. You want to utilize new salt. That's an important point. Or you can utilize inside of a bucket. Like how we rolled up before. Roll your edges to the center. Try to keep all the salt on as much as possible. Roll the hide up. Some people like to put a brick in the bottom because what's going to happen is the salt's going to pull the moisture out of the hide, and within 1 week you're going to have to pull the hide out, dump out the moisture, and resalt the hide to go right back in for good long-term storage. This technique does work, and people can fit a couple hides in each bucket this way. All you got to do is, after the 1 week, put your hides in, put your lid on tight, and it stores, really great for one. I've had hides stored up to 3 years with the same technique. But for our purposes, taking a hide and storing them on pallets, the one important thing that you want to make sure is the hide, after it has drained, is basically flesh to flesh, as in one hide down like this, another hide fleshed down on top, or take the hide, which is, basically our top hide is always this way, fold them in half like that so that they don't get too dry. Now, the only other method, except for this, is if you flesh, stretch, and dry a hide. I do have an example here of this, for it, which is right here, but I can't go into it in this video because we would have to flesh a hide. That will be the next video, and I'll talk to you more about that then. Thanks a lot. This is William Smith. Let me know what you think. Thanks.